Now, we're starting now.
Okay.
Fantastic. Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning and good evening, whatever time you will be joining us on whichever sphere of the world. I am delighted to be your host this afternoon or this evening. On the second lecture, I think we actually started on Tuesday. The third one, actually, we actually started on Tuesday with a little talk. And from there, I know there was another quick talk that we had on, I think it was Thursday, correct me if I'm wrong, Lola, chair of the planning committee,
It's
where,
Thursday. It
yeah,
was
it was Thursday.
Thursday. Yes.
Fantastic. It was Thursday. And for me, it is such a great privilege to be a host this evening, chairing or coordinating or convening the various legal juggernauts that we have. We're going to be talking on various aspects and various things this evening. I hope you all have your questions ready. And I'm sure you all will be aware already, for those who have seen the posters, of what the theme for this conversation is, for this seminar, albeit virtual, but still as cogent, still as important, and what we'll be discussing today will be as very much important. The theme for today is how a Nigerian university can seek excellence in the midst of present challenges. And I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Chancellor. Well, my name is Lade Olugbemi, and I'm also a councillor in one of the wards in the Royal Borough of Greenwich. And of course, a very proud alumni of Ondo State University, Ekiti State University, of Olanipekun University, whichever one you want to call it. We're here as Ekiti, as EKSU alumni, UK and Ireland. We're here discussing a really important topic, EKSU at 40, the journey so far. The journey from where we're coming from, the journey of where we are today, and the journey looking forward. Of course, I'm going to be introducing later to you our very great panelist, fantastic panelist, Professor Paul Olomolaiye, the Vice Chancellor of UWE Bristol. We have our Vice Chancellor here who is with us here in the United Kingdom. For those of us who are here, if you look to the bottom right, there's actually a reaction, there's a reaction button there where you can actually use to clap. You can actually use to send emotions. You know, we can't speak, we can't, what's the word? We're not face to face where we can clap, but of course, we can still clap here. We can very much clap here. We also have the global, and I love the use of that word, the way he is usually addressed, the global alumni president. But they're all going to be talking about themselves later. But what I'm doing at the moment is just brief introduction. Whilst we're waiting for so many other people to join us, because we actually do have a lot of people registered to join us this evening. Whilst we're waiting, can I ask you to just type in the chat box where you're joining us from? Where are you joining us from? When did you finish? It would be great to hear. When did you finish? What did you study? Where are you joining us from? So if you please just type in the chat box where you're joining us from. So my name, I've already mentioned, is Lade Olugbemi. While I was in school, I wasn't called Lade, I was called Bolade. And the acronym people called me with was Bolade Agape. Was Bolade Agape. And I finished in 1987. I was in the second set. And I do know that the chair of the caretaker committee at the moment, who is Prince Soji Eyilao, he was in the first set of the intakes into the university then. So please, I'm not seeing anything yet in the chat box. We want to hear where you are joining us from as we warm up. You know, I don't want this juggernauts, I don't want our juggernauts to start talking whilst we don't have the full house. And may I just say as well, please, can I call you my admin or my co-host, Lola? If you could just type the Slido details in the chat box. So if anyone has any question here, we have set up Slido. Slido is EKSU at 40. If you go to sli.do, you don't need to download the app. If you go on there, it would ask you to enter in sli.do. There's a dot there. It's not all one word. If you go in there and just type EKSU, capital letter, at You can ask your questions there. It's going to be anonymous, don't worry. So nobody will think that, oh, who has asked this question? Who is this? Or just ask your questions. It's very anonymous. So we have that set up where you can ask your questions. I'm not seeing anything yet in the chat box where we're joining from. I'm very certain that, thank you very much. Prince Soji is introducing himself. Where are you joining us from? From UK, from London, from Ireland, because don't forget this is EKSU Alumni UK and Ireland. So it's the whole of United Kingdom. And we know that the United Kingdom is not just about England. We've got Wales. We've got Wales. Okay, now let me start with the first quiz. Which other countries do we have in United Kingdom? For those of us who are here, which other countries do we have? We have 5 countries, United Kingdom and Ireland. So EKSU Alumni UK is comprised of EKSU alumni living in how many countries? We know there are 5. So I've mentioned 2. So there's England, there's Wales. Which other countries? Okay, everybody's quite quiet today. Let's be a vibrant house.
You have Scotland.
Okay, if you just type them out, we don't want, if you just type them out, thank you for mentioning that.
Okay.
We have Scotland, we have Northern Ireland, thank you. So we have 2 more left. 2 more left to add. There's Wales, yes, thank you. So Wales, England, Scotland, Northern Ireland. Remaining 1 more.
England.
Come on, guys. Well done, we have England. So those are the 5 countries. And of course, we have Ireland. And that's why I'm just asking us to please type. So, only 2 people. There's Olugbemi baby is joining us from London. Thank you. Welcome for joining. Welcome, welcome. Which other person? Dr. Tope Fasua is joining us from Abuja, Nigeria. There's Olugbemi Oluwaseun. He finished in 2007. Well done. And thank you for joining us all the way from Milton Keynes. Who else? Who else is joining us? Where they're joining us from? There's Ige Isijola, and he's joining us from United States. See, we're dotted all over the world. Thank you. We have 19 of us here. And of course, like I said, my name is Lade Olugbemi, and I'm joining from southeast of London, southeast of England. Very happy and delighted to be your host today. We're going to kick off now because I think we've waited enough. This is 1717. Thank you very much, Lade. We finished the same year, and she's joining us from Essex, England. We're going to kick off now, but before we kick off, I'll just keep giving us a little bit of background about what we're going to be discussing today. So we're discussing where we're coming from. The main challenge, the main theme for today is about how can a Nigerian university seek excellence in the midst of present challenges. There's quite a lot of challenges, quite a lot, and a lot of us are aware of, and we're going to be enumerating all of them. But before because I believe very strongly in having a solution-focused forum, where we're not just talking about the problems. Of course, for us to talk about how we solve the problems, we need to know what the problems are. It's also very helpful for us to know where we are coming from. So I'm going to put some few people on the spot, and I'll be asking you about your personal journey. I'm going to put some few people on the spot and just ask about your personal journey. We want to know where we're coming from. Where exactly are we going? I know that our various panelists, I've mentioned them to you already, our various panelists, our 4 panelists, they have various angles where they'll be discussing with us on. So what are the major problems that we have? Or rather, let me rephrase that. What were the issues in the past? What were the issues in the past? And then we'll talk about what are the issues now? And then we'll talk about what are the issues looking forward. And I know that of all of the various panelists that we have, the 4 panelists that we have, one of them here sticks out to be the longest. Tope, can we have your Dr. Fasua, can we have your camera on? And it'd be great to actually have the cameras of all our panelists on at all times, please. It'd be really helpful. So I'm going to be questioning, this question is going to be thrown to Dr. Fasua, who is a student. He was a student. He was a student of the university. And do you want to tell us a little bit about your story? When did you finish, Dr. Fasua?
Okay, I'm unmuting. Thank you very much for that. I actually didn't think you were going to pick on on me to speak because there are many very well qualified people here. But all the same, I went in 1987. I left in 1991. I was in Department of Economics. And well, I think what's remarkable was that well, I didn't go in as a very bright student. I was just basically average. But in getting into university, I think that's when my brain started to really develop because I was barely 16 actually. So I ended up graduating as the best student in the university in 1991, even though I had a 2-1. There was no first class that year. I think in the first 2 years, I was partly in Sekita Estate. And then later on, I got a room in town where we call State, near the State Hospital. And yeah, it's been very interesting. A lot of good friends we met, along the way. And quite a number of them were still together as friends today. And I'm glad quite a number of us that have left university, Oswa, EKSU, Obafemi Awolowo University, UNAD, and all of that. A lot of our guys are doing very, very well.
Okay, shall I rephrase the question?
Oh,
What were the challenges then? What we're trying to do is to chart the journey about what were the challenges then, what are the challenges now, and what will the challenges be moving forward? And
okay,
because the main theme, what were the challenges then? So thank you for telling us about when you finished and the issues. What were the challenges then?
Now, well, I was given a topic to. Am I onto the topic?
You're not onto the topic yet. No, you're not onto the topic.
Okay.
We're going somewhere. You don't worry.
Because
We'll talk about your topic later.
Okay. Because that's part of what I prepared as a slide anyway. But yeah, but I'll probably just talk about the challenges then. I don't know about the challenges. I won't talk about the challenges now.
I don't want to talk about the challenges now. The challenges then. That's why I asked, because you're the out of all the panelists, you're the students.
It was all about the infrastructure that we never had then. I mean, the school was basically very much in the bush. It was during our that they built the Olomolaiye building. Of course, the library was there. The VC's office was in one of those bungalows near the initial place where they started from. So it was all very challenging. We had to plow a lot of jungles to get to school. Sometimes I wonder how one never actually got bitten by a wild animal on those routes that we used. Sometimes in the night to go and read in school because it was always a challenge, but it was all very interesting for most of us. It was later on that a lot of the infrastructure in the university, for those who know the state of things now, started coming up. We made do with what we had. It was and again, I must say that my experience with the lecturers then was very nice. They were very cooperative. They were fathers to us and mothers to us. I never saw any incidents in those days of victimization for any reason. And I don't think any of my classmates as well had any, because then it was Dr. Ogunleye.
Thank you very much.
Professor who was with us in that time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Fasua. So I'm just going to quickly recap on the challenge you said was then. It was mainly infrastructure, infrastructures around transportation. I know you didn't mention the building, but I will mention building because, like I said, I was on the second set. And if you joined in 1987, I finished 1987. Now you can imagine what we went through. There were lots of challenges then, but thank you for mentioning those two. So it was infrastructure, you mentioned about the hostel, and of course you mentioned the positive side, which is the fact that you had lecturers who were very supportive, really, really supportive. Thank you very much for that. We're going to talk about the present now. So we talked about the past, what were the challenges we had then. We're going to talk about the present now. Don't forget all our various panelists have specific topics that they've been given to talk about. So we have Professor Edward Olanipekun, as is the current Vice Chancellor. And I'm going to ask you, sir, what are the challenges that we have at the moment? Please unmute yourself, sir. Please unmute yourself, sir. It is muted at the moment. Yeah, there you go. You're still muted, sir. If you kindly unmute yourself.
Muted.
Hello, I think you can hear me now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we
Thank
can
you.
hear you now.
It's nice to be here once again, and I really want to thank the leadership of the EKSU UK Island alumni, and it's also nice to see the face of Professor Paul Olomolaiye, who incidentally I met a few days ago at Bristol, and was very, very receptive, very accommodating. Not only that, humorous, even though he did say that the gate has prevented the Ekitis from being conquered, going by his words, by the Oyos and the Ibadan. So, Prof, I want to thank you for that. But you know, I said colonized. You thought you colonized us because even up to now, you see us probably one of your colonies. So, Prof, I want to thank you for joining this conversation. And I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Dr. Tope Fasua, particularly for coming out boldly to say that during his days in the university, that his lecturers were very supportive. You know, they cooperated with them, and you know, they had very, very good relationship with them. I'm going to speak from the perspective of the Vice Chancellor of that university, and as we do know, our university is owned by the state government, and the major challenge that we have now, to be honest, has to do with funds. The funds are not just there. As I'm here as Vice Chancellor, today I guess it's 28th of May, 2022. We are here to pay the workers the salaries for April, don't talk of May. The government is trying, I mean the owner of the university, you know, within the limits of the resources. But the truth of the matter is that we have quite a lot of overwhelming challenges. If you are unable to pay salaries, for instance, how can you talk about overheads? How can you talk about infrastructure and other things? So our major challenge, like I said, for now, has to do with positive funds. And another thing, which of course cannot be diverted from that, has to do with incessant industrial actions by the staff unions. And I'm not blaming the staff unions. Their actions quite justifiable. You see, because without the staff unions crying out, only God knows what would have been the state of our universities in Nigeria. So I'm not condemning their action, but it is still a challenge. You see, because in our university, Ekiti State University, about just a few years ago, during the period of the lockdown, an academic session which ordinarily should not run more than at most 9 months, lasted for about 22 months. And we needed to pay the salaries for 22 months using the fees that were paid for just 9 months. So that, of course, is another challenge. Another challenge that we have now is competition from other institutions around us. As you are aware, there is another university, another baby of the state government, the Bamisaye University of Education, Science and Technology. We just came aboard not quite a year ago. And the university, that's West, is lucky this year to have been the beneficiary, the recipient of the third fund annual allocation. Before, until West came aboard, the allocation was being given to Ekiti State University. But now, with the birth of West, we need to be alternating the allocation of that, which is quite, a challenge, because without the intervention of the third fund and the federal government, only God knows what would have been the state of infrastructure, in that.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much,
Lade,
Professor
probably I will
Olanipekun.
take a pause. I will take a pause for now, right?
Yes, because you will be giving your speech later, and I don't want to steal the thunder from your speech. And I suppose some of the things you're mentioning here, you will be mentioning then. So let's hold on to that so that it appears within context. Thank you very much for mentioning the current challenges that we have, which is salaries. I think it's not just to do with the Ekiti State University. It is an issue that I'm very much aware of that ASU has raised. And there's a fact that the core of staff that we have in Ekiti State University, they're quite mediatory. I was very happy to hear last week that they decided to pull out from the ASU strike and that they'll be going back to classes with the students. You also mentioned about the competition with the new university we have, and that is a serious one. Well, what we are talking about today is about the challenges. How do we manage these challenges? There are quite a lot of them. And here, like I said earlier, it's about us being solution focused. So it's not just talking about the various issues going on, but looking at how we can change the narrative, how we can support university. As alumni, we all have various skills. A lot of us have worked in various sectors of the industries. And on that note, I am really, really, really delighted to actually bring to the platform now our keynote speaker for today, Professor Paul Olomolaiye. Professor Paul Olomolaiye, we're so delighted to have you on the platform with us today. It is a great honor to have you here. And I'm just going to read out his bio a little bit for some of us so that we would understand. He is a professor of construction engineering and management, and is currently the Pro-Vice Chancellor for Equalities and Civil Engagement at UWE Bristol. He also chairs the Cabot Learning Federation, and this is a multi-academic trust of 21 schools in and around Bristol. He is a non-executive director of Avon and Wheelchair NHS Mental Health Trust. He holds a PhD from Loughborough University, and that is in civil engineering. He has widely published over 200 journals and he's spoken at various conferences, and is the author of 2 major books on construction, productivity, and stakeholder management. He is very passionate about the experiences of more than 3,000 staff and 30,000 students at UWE Bristol. And he has a collective responsibility as a civic at the Civic University and within the region and also beyond. Professor Olomolaiye is married with 3 grown-up children. He is very active in the community in various charitable activities and organizations. Thank you so much, Professor Paul Olomolaiye, the Pro-Vice Chancellor of UWE Bristol. Thank you for accepting our invite to speak to us today. You are our keynote speaker. Over to you, sir. You've got 10 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lade. I want to say an excellent evening to us all. And I want to thank Professor Olanipekun for welcoming me to the event this evening. So thank you very much. I was really cracking jokes 2 or 3 days ago with him about Ijeshas and Ekitis and Ekiti Parapowo and all those things. So I know that Ekitis are great people and great allies of the Ijesha people. And I just want to say we are brothers forever. It's a great privilege to have been invited to give a short introductory speech as a prelude to the discussion this evening. Although I've always been engaged with happenings in Nigeria, which I left many years ago, I know what I say may not be well contextualized within realities back home. I therefore asked Lola, who contacted me for some information about EKSU, and also for the last convocation speech by the Vice Chancellor, so that our engagement is meaningful and realistic tonight. I now understand that EKSU is an integration of 4 previous universities with 11 faculties, 53 academic departments. It's ranked 14th of all Nigerian universities despite the problems and challenges we've just heard. Had a name or brand changed 3 times to date, supported from inception by significant philanthropy, which continues to this date. Many successful alumni, we've had some of them tonight, and an alumni association powered by passion and drive to do more for the institution. I must at this juncture pause to commend the EKSU Alumni Association for their passion, which tells me your university did something transformative to your person. And you just can't get our EKSU out of your system. I would love to do more for your alma mater. Your institution did our best within limited resources for you, didn't cheat, and as we've just heard from one of the alumni, was very kind, very good teachers who were like fathers to you. They didn't exploit you financially and emotionally, but rather it enabled you to become who you are today. And you are most grateful and appreciative of that. I think we should clap for your passion, and we are collectively proud of you, and we continue to be proud of you and celebrate you all. Well done. The whole of Nigeria knows Ekitis as intellectuals who love to seek knowledge and read books a lot. I was told that a popular politician once said that if anyone dare turn to a book, the Ekitis will gladly read such a person. Erudite lawyers and economists who charted Nigeria's economy in the early days were Ekitis. It is not therefore surprising that your institution grew right from such a community that is passionate about education, about knowledge generally, and is so passionately supported by all Ekitis. Cut through your DNA, I think you will find the community boldly written in it. You are a community project, so to say, a community university by the community and for the community. You can only be proud and very proud of this as alumni and as an institution. I want you to hear me very well right from the root, is that you are born from the community, you are made for the community, and you have also responsibility for the community. Most of the problems that Nigeria has today, I believe, is because of the way it has treated universities. If the university in a nation or in a community is not doing well, I bet you that nation can never and will not do well. And that is what you are seeing, because what the nation is doing is abusing knowledge. Is saying that knowledge doesn't count. Is saying that education doesn't matter. Even the terrorist group called Boko Haram says right to everybody's face that it doesn't really matter to be educated. When you are not educated, you go down, right down the pan, and that is what is happening. If a university does not take care of its community, it will go down. If the community doesn't take care of the university, it will surely go down. I will go on in this speech tonight just to briefly describe what I mean, that you are a community university by the community and for the community. In 2018, a panel of discussion held here in the UK by Pearson's and was led by Lord Willett. The purpose of your university was in focus. This was followed by the same discussions at the London School of Economics. The purpose of universities have always been in focus throughout ages, with sole role as guardian of reason. But it's now being challenged by its role as promoters of social change. The guardian of reason, is the purpose of a university is to be guardian of reason, inquiry, and philosophical openness, preserving pure inquiry from dominant public opinion. So that was the traditional university. But now that is being challenged, that the purpose of university has changed to focus on social mobility. University allows more people to transform their lives, if necessary, at the expense of some core academic rigor. I think we should discuss that tonight, because that goes right, I believe, into the role of universities as engine for economic revival and economic change in their community, in their state, and in the nation. And until that connection is made, I don't believe anything will happen. If EKSU should focus on transforming lives, then how do you go about this? At what cost? With what structure? And how do you measure success on the roadmap to achieving transformative change in the lives of each alumni who attend EKSU? Should any graduate of EKSU be unemployed 2 years or more after graduation? What is the strength of our collective commitment to EKSU in transforming lives? Within the UK context, universities' performance and achievement of graduate outcomes, I mean employment at graduate salaries, are measured yearly and published, and determines the market attractiveness of universities across the land. Surely, universities shouldn't be producing graduates that are not needed by employers or the economy. Please, let's discuss this tonight, because that goes into the fundamental issues that we're having in Nigeria, and the solution will come from that. Are there too many universities? What is the purpose of the universities? Are they producing graduates that are employable? If they are not enabling the economy, how can the economy enable them back? If they are always on strike, I know I'm not the Vice Chancellor, and Vice Chancellor has to be careful. If you are doing something for 22 weeks, 22 months that you should have done for 9 months, how will you be able to pay salaries? There is no doubt that EKSU will do well being guardians of reason. As earlier said, Ekitis can read books and possibly the greatest philosophers in Nigeria. The Ekiti brain is rich and the mind is strong. That EKSU produced 6 first-class graduates at the last bar school exams will not surprise anyone. It is expected. But is EKSU producing global thought leaders? On the panel tonight is Dr. Fasua, a renowned economist and an EKSU star. Now the challenge isn't producing one Fasua or even 10 stars, when you are the Milky Way where stars are born and forming as we speak. I sincerely believe that EKSU can produce all the thought leaders Nigeria needs to think ourselves through a myriad of problems. You need thinkers to take Nigeria out of these problems, and until thinkers are allowed to think, we will continue to have these problems in the Nigerian university sector. How can EKSU produce more Fasuas? Is a question that I think we should ask ourselves. If one Elon Musk can do, and I was writing this and I say, is it possible for EKSU to produce an Ekiti Elon Musk? So let's discuss that as we go on tonight. All universities have some things in common. A position at the frontier of knowledge, a duty to pushing the boundaries of knowledge, a pursuit of knowledge, a dissemination of knowledge. In addition to this, universities must develop their USPs and are generally becoming more important and are gaining responsibility for the local economy and social advancement. If EKSU is really a community university by the community and for the community, I think our panel this evening should encourage EKSU towards becoming the significant driver of social and economic transformation of the Ekiti state. EKSU should not be the one looking for what the government will do, but will be the one that is informing government policies and trying to change things from within. The institution's responsibility mustn't stop with knowledge incubation and dissemination, but necessarily extend to societal transformation and advancement. Is EKSU incubating the companies of the future to underpin the economy of Ekiti state? Or are we just only concentrated on going for lectures and producing graduates that are not employable? Are your academics empowered to be enterprising in generating research and incubation funds globally, or simply going to teach same old lecture notes in other universities to make ends meet? I'm privileged to be on different panels across the world, and I've had situations in which we have a lot of money, maybe 10 million pounds grants being distributed by the Royal Society by the Royal Society here, specifically for Africa. I don't think I saw more than one application from the whole of Nigeria. Most of those funds went to South Africa and to some East African universities. So these are the challenges. Are the academics ready to actually engage to seek funds internationally to make their university to attract these global funds? If you are ready to do that, then I can tell you that there are so many universities, including my own, that will be ready to work with yourself. Are they empowered, or are they concentrated looking for money for maybe just to survive? Money is not everything, but it does matter. How is EKSU financed? Is the fee collected enough or sufficient? Is this the way to actually fund a university system? Okay, is this the way? In the UK where I live and where I've been for a number of years, we have a student loan company that makes it a bit easier. If a developing country is producing loads and loads of graduates and doctors who are learned over the last 6 months, 7,000 Nigerian doctors have left Nigeria. If you are doing that, then your economy will never be balanced, simply because you are educating these people who have not paid significant fees for the education they have, and they are now all abroad.
One more minute.
Okay, I think we should discuss all of this, okay? Tertiary education should not be so cheap because education is business. We have a unique advantage with Professor Olanipekun as the CEO and president of EKSU. If you may not know, he is the award-winning best VC in Nigeria as we speak. He is agile, vibrant, and wants to globalize the EKSU brand. I'm really proud to have met him early this week. And the challenge is, can we globalize? Can we get some funds back to EKSU in Nigeria through research, through knowledge transfer, through building incubators? I think we can. And so our thoughts tonight should be on how to help this agile Vice Chancellor to do his work for our great university. So thank you very much. I will stop.
Thank you very much. I think it would be great for us to clap. If you look on the bottom right of your screen, you see the reaction. Thank you very much, Professor Paul Olomolaiye. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for the great many questions you asked. I'm reading through, I was trying to make as many notes as possible from your speech. And there's so many questions you asked. And I believe very strongly that the answers to those questions, they're actually here within us on this platform of 26 people who are on the platform today, and a lot more who may watch this later. You asked several content questions about the fact that one, a university is meant to be for the community, with the community, and also for the community. You raised quite so many questions, one of which is also about funding. What are we doing in attracting funding? I know that some of the delegates in the house today will have questions. And if you have questions, I've said earlier and also put on the chat box where you can ask your questions in Slido. I have lots of questions to ask you, Professor Olomolaiye. Thank you so much for that presentation. Very passionate as well and very solution focused, but we're going to discuss about them tonight. I don't want to talk too much because I totally recognize we have three other speakers, and the next speaker that we have is Engineer Dipo Bamisaye. He is the global president of the EKSU Alumni worldwide, meaning that he represents America, United States of America, UK and Ireland, South Africa, Africa, just name it. All the continents, all the Asian continent is a global president, and he has a really heavy task, that was started off by the previous president. I think his name is Dr. Adetubero. Started off very, very well, excellently well, and Engineer Dipo is firing as well. Is firing on all fronts as well, and it's good to know that he's an engineer, and that's why I said he's firing on all fronts. So Oladipo Bamisaye, he started his post-secondary academic journey in Ondo State University. Professor Olomolaiye, I know you said that the name of the school has changed 3 times. It's actually 4 times, sir. We started off first as Obafemi Awolowo University. From there, we went to Ondo State University at Ekiti. Then it became University of Ekiti. And then it now became Ekiti State University. So it's 4 name changes. But here we are, whatever name we're called, it still does not take away who we are. The fact that we passed through that institution. So he started off his academic journey in Ondo State University at Ekiti in 1997. He graduated with Bachelor's of Engineering degree and finishing with a second-class honors. His quest for higher knowledge led him back to go to University of Abuja in 2007 for a master's degree in environmental planning and protection. Since then, he's attended quite a lot of other executive and managerial courses. His career experience in engineering was acquired in top-notch organizations, among which are ExxonMobil Corporation, AAP Consulting Limited, BOB Architect Planners, and several of them. He's worked at SciTech as well, SciTech International Estate as well. Dipo Bamisaye rose to the ranks in engineering, and he has supervised quite a lot of projects and constructions, which includes 4 major bridges in Ihiala, Anambra. He's currently the executive director, the project chief executive officer of Deep Crest Integrated Services. It's an engineering management firm with vested interest in sustainable infrastructures, oil exploration, and also agricultural development. Bamisaye is very unassuming, yet an accomplished civil engineer. He's an indigene of Ijesha-Ishu, Ekiti. He's fondly called Dipo, and he's married with children. He's the recipient of several honors. He was elected on the 27th of March 2021 as the 10th alumni president of the Ekiti State University. And on that note, I'm going to hand you over to Engineer Dipo Bamisaye. Over to you. You've got 10 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Chancellor Lade Olugbemi. Let me firstly acknowledge the guest speaker, Professor Paul Olomolaiye. You've dissected the whole thing. And then I will especially acknowledge you as a professor of construction management, as a civil engineer like myself. Of course, you must be my senior colleague. I have to say thank you for that. I have to acknowledge members of this planning committee, and I have to acknowledge the presence of my Vice Chancellor, Professor Olanipekun. He's been very passionate about moving the university forward, and that's why we are in the United Kingdom today. Again, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Tope Fasua, who incidentally is the chairman of the Eminent Persons Group of the Alumni Association. He too is passionate about changing the narrative. I don't really have much to say because the challenges are all over there. like Dr. Tope Fasua said in his remark, while I was in the university, most of our lecturers were very cooperative. I didn't experience any victimization in engineering. So, and then it was this, even though we had 1 or 2 strikes during my tenure, but it wasn't as bad as it is today. And then the crux of the matter today is the way forward. Like, looking back from where we are coming from, looking at where we are, looking forward, we have cause to celebrate. But why celebrating? What are the way forward? The enormous challenges are there. The art of infrastructure. In those days, we have very bad road to the school, accessing the road, poor transportation facility, poor lighting system. But today, I think it's not. We have good transportation system today. We have good infrastructure today, but it's beyond infrastructure today. What we are talking about today, we are in the internet age today. We are talking about ICT infrastructure, not physical infrastructure. We are talking about telemedicine today. We are talking about bioengineering, artificial intelligence today. These are where we have to be looking at. On the final note, the critical reason we are here today in the United Kingdom is to leverage on alumni members, the best brands, facilitate funding for the development of the institution. And on that final note, I will once again want to appreciate the leadership of the United Kingdom and Highland Alumni Association. We had fruitful discussion in Aberdeen yesterday. I'm still in Aberdeen presently. I'm coming back first thing tomorrow morning. It's all about moving the university forward. And so I have no doubt in my mind that we can actually network, and collectively we can make that university one of the best in the next decade. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Dipo Bamisaye. That was very, very short, succinct, crisp as well. And it's about moving forward. Thank you for acknowledging the work that has been done by the planning committee for this anniversary, and of course the caretaker committee as well. Is the fact that there is a passion from all fronts about moving our university forward, and also the passion on all fronts to making sure that we tap into the skills and the resources that we have out there. And I'm glad that Professor Paul Olomolaiye mentioned earlier about opportunities that he's seen quite a lot of African universities, well, not African, Nigerian universities missing out on. And I like the fact that he didn't just talk about the issues, he talked about how we can move forward. And I'm sure Professor Olanipekun will be taking that up, not just him, the collective of all of us will be taking that up, making sure that where those funding are, we are tapping into them to making sure that we have a university that is top notch. There is definitely going to be a discussion session later. There are quite a lot of issues. Don't forget that the topic that we're talking about today is how a Nigerian university can seek excellence in the midst of the present challenges. And what are these challenges? We've mentioned some of them already. We've mentioned the fact that Professor Olanipekun mentioned earlier about the fact that there's funding issue, there's competition, there's the ASU issue. There are also issues with students. I know that he probably will be mentioning that in his speech, but we definitely will be having what we call an open mic session later. If you have any questions, we have Slido where we want a very structured way of asking questions. So if you just put your question in Slido, if you go on the EKSU at 40, You will see all of the various, you see when you log on to slide.dope.com, it would show ask for an event, and if you just put EKSU, EKSU is all in capital letter, EKSU at 40, EKSU at 40. The next person who will be speaking to us is somebody who Professor Olomolaiye already referred to earlier. He already referred to the various works that he's done, referred to the fact that he's very well known. He's a brand, just like there's so many other brands that I can boldly tell you our university is fielding. There are quite a lot of fantastic brands that we're fielding. But of course, today the person on the spotlight is Dr. Tope Fasua, FCA, PhD. And may I say his PhD is not honorary, his PhD is what for?
Kindly, thank you very much for the effusive. Kindly,
I'm not handing over to you yet. Please just hold on.
Okay. So
I'm
sorry.
not handing over to you yet. So just
Okay. Thank you.
Just hold on. So he's a financial market aficionado. He's a policy scholar. He's had a distinguished career in banking. He established Global Analytics Consulting, which is an international management finance strategy firm that operates from Nigeria, from the United Arab Emirates and also United Kingdom. The firm is very instrumental to the repositioning of private and public sector firms in Nigeria, and of course, outside of Nigeria as well. He's supported in facilitating intermediation for hundreds of small and medium-scale enterprises. Dr. Fasua is a member of the Institute of Directors, and he's also the president of the Institute of Service Excellence and Good Governance. He's a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and the Institute of Information Management, among others. He sits on the board of First Central Credit Bureau, ULIX Insurance Brokers, and he currently serves as the chairman, Statutory Audit Committee at the Infrastructure Bank. He is also the secretary, board of editors at Daily Trust Group, as well as the member board of experts for Tertiary Institution Entrepreneurship Scheme, an initiative of the Central Bank of Nigeria. As a writer, he keeps a weekly column at the Daily Trust, Premium Times, and he also writes for the Alvin Report. He's written thousands of newspaper articles, as well as 10 books on the subject of Nigeria's social economic challenges and the sundry concerns. And like you would have heard already, he's also the chairman of the Eminent Persons Group, EPG, which is can I call them a consortium? It's a body of EKSU alumni. Yeah, it's a body of EKSU alumni that have come together to move the association forward, to move the university forward. On that note, I would like to but before I put you on the stand, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Professor Wale Olajide, who is joining us all the way from Bristol. It's just a brief call. It's just a brief call in. We're acknowledging your presence. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Thank you. So over to you, Dr. Tope Fasua. You have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Kindly enable screen sharing, please. Thank you. And deduct that from my 10 minutes.
I like that. I'm going to make you a co-host. So okay. I'll make you a co-host so that you will be able to. Okay, I'm not able to, unfortunately. I'm not able to make you a co-host. I think it's a host who can make a co-host, unfortunately. If you, can you?
He's a co-host now.
The co-host now?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I can share screen now. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So if you just hold on 1 minute, okay, your 10 minutes starts now. You're the timer.
Okay, can you see my screen, please?
Not yet.
Okay, it's coming up shortly.
Are you having problems sharing? Are you having problems sharing?
It's coming up shortly. I think it's just okay, let's see. Oh no. Maybe I'll leave that, but I'll still try and share as we go along. So so that I can save some
It's
time.
sharing now.
It's sharing now. Okay, good.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. So basically, I'll just run through. First of all, let me acknowledge the dignitaries present: the Pro-Chancellor of UW Bristol, the Vice Chancellor, the Global President of EKSU Alumni, who dragged me into this position very reluctantly on my part, and also Professor Lade, among others, and also the alumni are present, So I'll be very, very quick with my presentation. I was asked to speak on, how do you achieve excellence in a university in spite of challenges? And of course, we know that EKSU already has, we know all the challenges, apart from the one that's generic to every university in Nigeria. We have our own peculiar issues, which of course we should not be daunted. We should not be daunted by it. And then again, I'm going to be speaking largely from the perspective of the alumni, association of which I was made the chairman of what they call the Eminent Persons Group. Now, the eminent persons group, basically, I think a lot of us are eminent, basically. But basically, I think my role, the way I interpret my role, is to see how we can continue to expand those people, alumni who are interested in making the university a much better place. So basically, that's the angle I'm going to be looking at it from. Historically, EKSU was formed 40 years ago, and therefore, if you look at it, 40 minus 4, we probably have about 36 different sets of alumni, who have come out of that university. And of course, that's a great thing. What that means to me is that, look, there's so much to tap from. Like I was trying to say earlier on, that every time I look around, and I also run into several alumni in different places, I'm pretty much very happy that no matter what, and in spite of the challenges we went through, we're doing very well around the world. In politics, in finance, we have people who are, alumni who are directors of banks today in Nigeria. Oh, okay. Okay, I think this sharing thing is just crazy. So we have, in different places and so on. So, so basically, my concern is to quickly, let me stop sharing so that I can just concentrate on it. I think it's getting there. Would have been good to be able to share though. Anyhow, so historically, we know where we're coming from, and I think that what needs to be brought out from that perspective is that we have done well in spite of all odds, and we need to be proud. Now, when some of the earlier speakers were speaking, what was going through my mind is, look, how do we interest alumni in coming back to give back, for example, to EKSU? And of course, the roles of alumni has been well documented everywhere in the world, and in every great university. We've seen the roles of alumni very well documented. And so it is valid if we are called to say, look back and see and remember your humble beginnings in this university, no matter how humble. So that's our core challenge. Our core challenge is to see how we can actually interest, people who have left this university to come back and give back to the university. I have a few examples that I would like to show of great universities around the world that alumni have been the ones that have made them great, and make them grow to where they are today. So it is not very odd for us to do that. The challenges of the university are a myriad, like I said before. It is not for me to speak about some of them that cannot be solved very easily or by us as alumni. I mean, for example, the funding problem, which is a problem that affects every university in Nigeria, given that, of course, students are not supposed to pay a significant amount of money as fees and what have you. But of course, a state university is even worse. It's worse for a state university. okay, to do anything like that. And so we're actually burdened as alumni to see how much we can do for our alma mater, as it is said. Look at, if you're seeing my screen, you will see that I looked at some case studies around the world. So there's Yale University, established by some Puritans who fled from England around 1701. And then the name of that university, called Yale, was for a man who donated 400 books. His name was Elihu Yale, and he was a merchant, and he donated 400 books. And because of that, they changed the name of the university. Now, also, Yale started college sports, the tradition of college sports in the US, 1843, established the first university art school in 1869. In 1887 became, all this while it was called Yale College, became the university in 1887. Today, Yale has produced 5 presidents, President Taft, Ford, H.W. Bush, Clinton, and George W. Bush. Harvard University, 1636, it was formed as a college, okay? And by 1636, of course, Reverend John Harvard, bequeathed half of his estate and books, and it was formed as New College, but it became Harvard University upon that donation. It has about 17,000 students in regular enrollment today, 30,000 in non-degree, and of course, it's very famous with its executive education, which some of you may have been to. Stanford University started as Senator Leland Stanford, who later became governor of California, started this idea in 1885. In 1891, they launched out, and the official name is Leland Stanford Jr. University till tomorrow, because it was named after the son of Senator Leland, the only son who passed at some point, And of course, by 1930, what's very remarkable about Stanford is that by 1930 or in the 1930s, a certain Professor Freddie Terman, who is known as the father of Silicon Valley, started encouraging students to develop and commercialize their ideas. That's why it is said that Stanford actually created Silicon Valley. In fact, one of the problems that Stanford has as a university today is the problem of dropouts. Every sophomore wants to go out and start a company. So, however, they are very empowered. So you can see that they found a niche. And one of the things that universities have to do is probably to find a niche at some point. University of Witwatersrand in South Africa here was formed, and this one is very much like EKSU, formed in 1903 as Transvaal Technical Institute. By 1906, it changed to Transvaal University College. 1910, it became South African School of Mines and Technology. 1920, it became University College Johannesburg. And by 1932, it gained full status and then became University of Witwatersrand. Today it has about 27,000 students, I think. And there was a slight error there. So you can see that they too, Witwatersrand has changed universities and changed names as many times. Some of the frustrations of people who live, who went through EKSU is, this university has Obafemi Awolowo at some point, and then Fasua, and then UNAD, and then, maybe 5 times that's changed names. And also we know some of the issues. So what are the challenges? Let me quickly remember that, a lot of alumni complain about transcript, getting that transcript, they get very frustrated, and one of the challenges that I've been given as the chairman of the eminent person is to see to that, which we are working on very fervently now, and I believe that we'll be able to do something with the assistance of the Vice Chancellor here present, So challenges, of course, inadequate funding. We can take that to the bank, in increasing competition home and abroad. As much as we have problems in Nigeria, the government keeps on, approving new universities. It's like an obsession. Everybody wants one in their village. It's incredible. But that means that, that's more challenge to EKSU, because the choice, why would a student, a 16, 17-year-old, 18-year-old choose to come to EKSU in Ekiti, in Ekiti almost, rather than go to Unilag? And so that's the challenge we have. And I think we can work on this. Sometimes problems present, those who take on those challenges are the ones who excel from anywhere in the world. Like it is said, if a man knows his job, the world will beat a path to your backyard and to know what exactly you're doing. So basically, student comfort, hostels and so on, facilities on campus is still a major problem. I understand there's some borehole that is half complete somewhere that needs to be completed and so on, to give water to the students and so on. Some of those basic things are still a problem. Tech enablement.
So that's the timer. So that's the timer telling you your time is up. So
yeah, sorry, you have to give me a couple more so that I just rush through. Sorry, I just have 2 more slides or so. All right, so tech enablement, because everybody has now gone online.
I'll give you 1 minute to round up, Dr. Fasua.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, availability of good lecturers who will stay, growing student numbers. How do you grow the student numbers? The more the numbers gap, the more your chances of making something. And also, of course, how to optimize alumni participation. Now, universities grow usually by increasing access to new students, overcoming tech concerns, supporting student journey, making it a memorable thing for them to pass through university, and becoming an institution of distinction, committing to excellence. So basically, the role of we, the alumni, is get more involved. We shouldn't spurn the university and look down on the university. It really doesn't matter, it's our beginning, and that's where we started from. But also, we have to bring more friends on board, be generous and responsible for the growth of the university. There's a commendable initiative that was taken by the alumni. I think Mr. Prince Ilawo is very instrumental to that. Yeah, and the last convocation, I saw that quite a number of students got so much from the alumni, and it was such a gladdening thing. When I finished the best student in 1991, I probably got less than 100 naira. I think I was already working in the bank then, so I didn't even go back to collect it. But this time, it is a way of the students or the alumni taking the news to town, and that's maybe a turning point by which more students will want to come to Osua because they know, or to EKSU, that they know that there's a lot, going on there, and there's a lot they can get. However, I want to quickly suggest that rather than look at the people who come first, the students who come first alone, in a kind of winner takes all thing, perhaps we consider 1 to 3, first to third, because there's some students who walked away the last time, this last conversation with the 1 point something million. And so, which is quite remarkable. I'm not even sure that happens anywhere in this country. So room for improvement, and that's the last slide. We need professors of practice, okay? A lot of people have done incredibly well. They may not be full professors. Different universities call them different things. We need pro bono lectures from alumni. We need to, Mogalu, Prince Mogalu, who also happens to be a senior friend of mine, he's not a full professor, but he went back to Taft and in the US, and Tufts University, and is a professor of practice there, meaning that people who already have experience in their area and therefore can impart back to the students. We need also, apart from that, pro bono lecturers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fasua. Thank you very much.
Very importantly, let me speak about accountability.
I am going to have to stop
fair
you.
Fair enough. Thank you
so much. You have actually spent 2 minutes extra, not 12 minutes.
Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you so much for your presentation. Very, very apt. I like the fact that you listed out, you started with the journey, the examples you gave of other universities, looking at the historical background and also where they are at the moment. I like the fact that you listed the various challenges that the university is going through. The inadequate government funding, and it was good that you picked up on what Professor Olanipekun had said earlier as well about competition, the mushrooming, if I can use that word, of the many universities we have in Nigeria, where that inevitably stretches the funding that the government has, growing student numbers and optimizing alumni participation. Thank you for the various suggestions you made, and I suppose we're going to have to discuss about that later. Suggestions about getting more involved in the university, bringing more friends on board, ensuring there's more accountability, pro bono lectures from alumni. Yes, we're very much willing, and I'm glad we're having this event today to spark a fire in the heart of every single one of us. For some who may have sat on the bench, or some who may have sat, back benchers, or wherever you're sitting, is the fact that we can do a lot more. Hearing Professor Olomolaiye speak earlier, Engineer Dipo, Bamisaye, and of course, Dr. Fasua speak at the moment, there is a lot more that we can do. And we can do all of this together. It is very much achievable, very, very much achievable. Without much ado, the last but not the least, and for those who can speak the Yoruba language, I think virtually all of us are Yoruba. There's a proverb in Yoruba that says that it's the biggest masquerade that comes out. And when I say the biggest instance, my reference is to the current Vice Chancellor of the Ekiti State University, Professor Edward Olanipekun. Professor Paul Olomolaiye described him very well earlier, and I like the way he described him. And I'm just going to quickly read out how he described him. I wrote it down. He said that he is an award-winning best VC in Nigeria. He's agile, vibrant, and he wants to globalize the EKSU brand. He wants to globalize the EKSU brand. And I'm just going to read a little bit about, he has an extremely long citation, but I'm just going to read a little bit about it. Professor Edward Olanipekun was born in Ado-Ekiti, so he's a son of the soil. He was born in Ado-Ekiti, Ekiti State. He attended St. Paul's Anglican Primary School, Odo-Ado, Ekiti. Between 1972 and 1977, he also went to Mary Immaculate Grammar School in Ado-Ekiti. And for his elementary and secondary was in Ekiti. He was in Ado-Ekiti, and he obtained his BSc from the BSc Chemistry, MSc, and also PhD from the University of Ibadan. That was in 1982, 88, and 95, respectively. He joined the service of Ondo State University, as it was then called, in October 1991 as a lecturer grade 2, I suppose, and he got elevated to the position of a professor in the Department of Chemistry in October 2003. Professor Olanipekun was at several times an adjunct lecturer, visiting lecturer at the University of Agriculture at Abeokuta, Obafemi University, Ile-Ife, Adekunle Ajasi University, Akuba, Akoko, and also the Federal University of Technology, Akure. He's occupied several positions of responsibility in the university, including but not limited to being the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies. He was also the director of the Directorate of Pre-Degree Programs, and he was the acting head, Department of Chemistry, among others. He has served 2 terms as member of the Governing Council of the university. He is an activist. He was formerly the president of the Obafemi University, University of Ibadan. He was also the former chairperson of Academic Staff Union, ASU, the UNAT chapter. He's been awarded several Lifetime Achievement Awards by the ICT University in Yaoundé, Cameroon. He's had lots of awards. I can't read through all of them now, but he is the 8th substantive Vice Chancellor of Ekiti State University since August 2019. And Professor Edward Olanipekun is married to Mrs. Adebola Olanipekun, and they're married and they are blessed with God-fearing children. Professor Olanipekun, please unmute yourself, and over to you. You've got 10 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much, Lade. Let me once again appreciate our brother, our friend, Professor Paul Olomolaiye. I am, by the grace of God, the substantive Vice Chancellor of Ekiti State University. And I say by the grace of God because it was by mere providence that I actually emerged as the Vice Chancellor of that university. That was in August 2019. 16 of us actually vied, for the position. And at the end of the day, I came tops alongside another top brother from another university. So in other words, one came first, there was no second, and another came third. And of course, it became a serious issue on who to be picked as the Vice Chancellor. But by the grace of God, our visitor to the university, who is also the governor of Ekiti State, and who also doubles as the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, eventually settled for me. And That is how I eventually found myself as the driver now of the EKSU vehicle. And so far, so good. It's been, to God be the glory, a very, very good and fruitful journey, so to say, because I'm a child of God, and I believe that regardless of the situation, regardless of the circumstance, one should continue to thank the Almighty God. Even yesterday, and I think again Bamisaye is there, God again revealed himself. We landed at Aberdeen. God saved us. Because as we were landing, almost immediately, the aircraft took off. And I think also, very proud to say, Olagide, my sister, Pastor Lade, I only want to call it. That's all we thank God. So, be that as it may, I only want to go into what Dr. Fasua has said with regards to how the university started from cradle to where we are now. But as we do know, apart from my humble self, we've had 7 substantive vice chancellors. And the pioneer vice chancellor, engineer, Professor Olanipo, actually did a lot of work to lay a solid foundation, for that university, which some of us are now trying to, to build upon. Of course, we thank God once again, like I said, for what we were able to achieve. In the last couple of months since I came aboard as Vice Chancellor, like I told some people before I took over, our university was number 157 of 4 universities in Nigeria. And to go with the glory, within the first 1 year, we were able to move from number 157 to about 16. And by February this year, we moved to number 14 at the best university in Nigeria. And we have not reached where we ought to be. I know by the grace of God, in another 1 year, we would have also climbed up the ladder. As well posited by Professor Olomolaiye, community universities, so to say, well, and then I agree with him. And so far, so good. The university has actually lived up to the vision, of the founding fathers. And of course, Lola, Chancellor, of course, we know that university was established by late Chief Michael Adekunle, the first civilian governor of Ondo State, and that was 1982. And Antonio Resort was done by the revered state late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, actually warranted the university, to bear its first name, which was Obafemi Awolowo University before, of course, it's later became Ondo State University, and then the other names. And now that we're existing, but be it, of course, Obafemi Awolowo University had no alumnus because the university didn't produce anybody before the name changed to Ondo State University. So that's why once upon a time we have Usua alumni, we have another alumni, and we have EKSU alumni. But to God be the glory, we only have one body now, and we is the EKSU alumni. And I want to thank all the presidents of the EKSU Alumni Association from the first up to the present, for actually bringing everybody together now. And I think I'm a very, very happy Vice Chancellor. And like Prof. Paul Olomolaiye will know, there is no university can survive without the active participation and support of its alumni. When we were at Aberdeen yesterday, they took us to the library, and that library, we were told, was being courtesy of the philanthropic gestures of the Alumni of the University. And we were also told that the cost of the library, as at the time, was about £33 million. So without the alumni, that library will not be there. So, and that is why I as Vice Chancellor, I have made up my mind to actually cultivate the alumni of that great university. Because without the alumni, honestly, it won't be easy for us to actually consolidate on the little gains that we'll be able to make. I cannot begin to just read out the interventions made by our alumni, be it as a body or as any individuals. As you do know, the ultra-modern student union complex, which more or less will be the best in the country, was donated by a very, very wonderful alumni of that university, Honorable Kingsley Kuku. And not only that, he also donated a bus, brand new bus, not Tokumbo, to the student union. The Goodluck Ebele Jonathan Auditorium was put up there by the alumni. We have also other interventions, so many of them that are actually shown the commitment of the alumni of that great university towards the development of the university. As I speak, there is a project, commendable one going on, and that is the EKSU FM station. It's the baby of the alumni. And this morning when we were returning from Aberdeen, and I still asked my brother, Professor G. Elao, the man that I am really very, very proud of, and I was asking him in a subtle manner that, Prince, when will this radio eventually come on air? And he assured me that within the next couple of weeks, the test transcription should commence. It's the alumni. And let me say this, I just thought, oh, let's just try if the alumni do something along that region. The university was already trying to work in that direction. We started. We've actually put in place a committee, and Professor Olomolaiye,
you have 1 minute, sir. You have 1 minute, sir.
Yeah? Have I spoken up to 10 minutes?
Yes, the alarm's going to go off.
Okay. Well, let me just round up. And of course, the thrust of my submission is that we need the alumni more than ever before now. There is another baby of a state government, and that is Bamisaye Olomilioye University of Education Science and Technology. But the advantage that we have is that we have so many alumni who have distinguished themselves in the various fields of Dipo. Buesti is yet to have. And let me also say this, without TED funds, without this assessment, only God knows what the state of infrastructure in our university would have been. Well, I think for now, I want to take a pause. Probably when we now go to the question and answer or question segment, probably I will have one or two things to say. But before that, the issue of transcript, I want to thank Dr. Fasua for actually mentioning that. Is more or less a hydra-headed monster. But to God be the glory, we are almost demolishing the monster. And in just a matter of weeks, the issue of transcript should just become seamless. And within 72 hours upon request, I think applicants should be able to more or less to get their transcript. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Professor Edward Olanipekun. Thank you for taking us down history about where we started from, telling us about what the issues are at the moment, and of course ending with a quote. I call it a quote from you. What I've done on my notes is I wrote it in capital letters. It said, "We need the alumni. We need the alumni," and that is an extremely strong message. And for all the alumni that are on the platform this evening, it's a clarion call to all of us that our university needs us, and there's just no way they could do this on their own. So we need the alumni. Of course, we also definitely do need to refer to some of the things that Professor Olomolaiye said in his speech. And I think this is some of the questions I will be asking. I don't know if any one of us have questions. I know that I'm looking at Slido at the moment and nobody has put a question on Slido, but just in case you're having difficulties getting onto Slido, you can put your question on the chat box. So let's have it both ways. It's just that I know that sometimes people prefer to ask their questions anonymously. They don't want people to know who has asked the question, and Slido affords you that anonymity. But if you want to put your questions, I'm seeing some here already. Thank you so much for putting those questions there. And that takes us to the next bit, which I think is really important. If you notice, I've actually put our panelists on the spotlight where Dr. Fasua's face is on now. Okay, if you notice, I've put our panelists on the spotlight, and these questions will be for them. I don't want to be the first one because I think that would be an undue advantage if I'm the first person asking a question. It would be a total undue advantage because I'm holding the microphone at the moment. But I'll just go into the chat box. If you have any questions, okay, there are questions on Slido. Okay, then I'm going to bring on, I think we should both do this together, the chair of the planning committee, who has done so excellently well alongside the other members of the planning committee. They've done well putting this together. So I'm putting together, so Lola Lade, if you have access to Slido, please unmute yourself and ask the questions, please. That'll be really helpful. And before I said I didn't want to be the one, I'm glad she's written this. I'm so glad she's written this, really glad. Because there was one person I dragged in-house here. I sent a message to her about the event today. She said, she's an alumni. I said, I am not having anything to do with the alumni except they sort out my transcript. And I'm so glad that Dotun Akonde, who is another brand for our university. She's the proprietress or the proprietor of Pure Souls. It's a leading learning, what do we call it now? It's a leading school for children who have autism in Nigeria. She is, in fact, she is an international brand. And I'm glad she's put her question out here. She says, I am an alumni, and have been waiting for my transcript for 4 years to no avail. She actually did say this to me when I was in Nigeria in March about academic opportunities she's lost because she struggled to get her transcript. So Professor Olanipekun, you are the one I'm going to put, yourself and Engineer Dipo Bamisaye, who I know that one of the key priorities he has is about the transcript. But I'm going to throw that directly to you, Professor Olanipekun. What are we doing about the transcript?
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can. I can.
You know, I did mention the issue of transcript when I was about rounding up my, at that time. And, I describe it as a hydra-headed monster. And I won't come here and just come and play politics, with the issue of transcript. In other words, for me to just come and say what people, would like, to hear. And I want to admit that the university had actually erred, in that regard. And I want to apologize, on behalf of the management of that university for the kind of agony that some of our alumni, have gone through. I'm aware that some of them have lost very, golden opportunities, in different areas, arising from non-availability of their transcript. But let me be honest with you. We have issues with documentation. We have issues with documentation. No problem. No doubt about that. We're trying to actually go over and above that. Try to bring some innovative ways to get across that. And let me also say this, even though this may not also go well with some of us who are listening here. There were also issues with people who actually graduated without meeting the requirements. I had a case, very bad case at hand, of somebody who actually graduated from law, and that person was having about 4 outstanding courses, which that person did not pass. But when that person now, came forward to request for the transcript, unfortunately, some of the people who claimed all those courses, some of them have died, some have left the system. But what do we do as a university? Do we now say, oh, we won't provide your transcript for you? So, we need to go to Senate and then ask Senate to advise us on how best, to go about that. And to go with glory, Senate, in his wisdom, was able to more or less to find, ways around it. And as I speak, the person must have collected his transcript. And so there are so many issues, like that.
Sorry, I'm going to have to be very direct because this is an issue not just with Dr. Akonte, who's written in the chat box. It's an issue that I know that a lot of ex-whites in UK has one key issue that we've always been talking about. How can we solve this problem? How can we solve the problem?
That was what issue got me.
You've talked about the issue of documentation. You've talked about the issue of documentation. How can we solve those problems?
That's the point. Of course, Professor Paul Olomolaiye will understand, and some of us, even Dr. will understand better what I meant to say. I just try to isolate some cases, and now we are trying to actually to solve that. And what we tried to do actually was to put up a committee to do like a sort of audit of all the Senate approved resources since the university was established in 1982. That committee had submitted its report. So we've been able to more or less because there's no way you can write a transcript of someone when you don't have the full results. You can't do that.
Are we saying in essence, sir? Are we saying in essence that it's going to be almost impossible to because I don't understand. How can we resolve? You're telling us the problem. We would like to know how we move forward.
Listen to me.
I'm listening,
Calm down.
I'm very calm. Very calm, sir. Very calm.
I told you that there is no
a politician. The same way you're an activist, I'm also an activist.
Yes, so I know. There is no way you can write a transcript for someone without having the complete results. I told you we just set up a committee. That committee has submitted its report. So now we have the report of that committee at hand. Even despite, and I want to thank the time unions. Despite
can we give a timeline to this? Is it possible? Because I'm just very conscious of the so many questions we have, and there's a need for us to try and cover them. Can we give a timeline so that we can have hope that in 1 year, in 6 years, this issue will be resolved? I'm just asking.
It won't be up to that. No, it won't be up to that.
Okay, the reason why I say that, sir, I say that is we've been talking about this for over 10 years.
Yes.
I'm aware of colleagues who have struggled. I was lucky because I got my transcript as far back. Almost as soon as I finished, I went back to uni and I got mine. But would like to have a timeline. So for Dr. Akonte and the likes of many of that Dr. Akonte who have issues with their class, give us a timeline, sir. We want a timeline.
Let me say that.
No, give us a timeline, sir. I'm just
by
very
the grace of
about
God.
That questions. Yes, sir.
By the grace of God, within the next at most 3 months, which will
3 months. Thank you.
All the backlogs.
Thank you.
And it may also interest you to know that at the last convocation, which held in March, all these graduates were given copies of the students' copy. It has never happened in the history of that university.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Professor Olanipekun. We're going to hold you on, and one of the things that I'm hoping we as an EKSU alumni is about accountability. We're going to hold you on to that. 3 months.
And let me also say this: Doctor should inbox me, send the particulars to me.
I will give. I want
to assure you that before the end of next week, he will get the transcript.
Thank you. I will give her your details. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is what we're talking about. We have so many skills out there, people who would want to input back into the university, but the stumbling block and the apathy is because a lot of them don't have access to the transcript. Dotun, for example, I know has had to defer her master's several years, not once, not twice, because she doesn't have a transcript. Well, it's great to hear that. Thank you so much, sir. We have some questions on Slido, and like I said, I think it would be appropriate to bring the chair of the planning committee. We're going to acknowledge the planning committees later. We'll acknowledge the planning. My name is Lade, not Lande. Is Lade. We're going to acknowledge the planning committees later, just acknowledging the work they've done. But I'm bringing the chair on to read the questions that we have on Slido, and I'll read the ones we have on our chat box here. Over to you, Lola.
Okay, the first, on Slido.
On Slido, yes.
Okay.
I'll do the
I'll go to Slido. But Professor Olomolaiye has asked for the total number of EKSU alumni. So, Engineer Bamisaye, if you can work on that one. I know that in UK we have 350 presently, but we are building up. So I don't know the other figure. So you might be able to help that. So let's go to Slido.
No. Let him answer that. If you do you have an idea, Engineer Bamisaye, do you have an idea of how many alumni we have worldwide, if possible?
Well, I know, worldwide we should be more than 20,000. We should be, but that it's a voluntary organization. And so, if you are not passionate about that, about the university and the alumni, you may not be a member. But be it as it is, if we look at the database as at 2 months ago, as at the time we are doing the convocation, that was about March, we have up to 1,000 registered members in Nigeria.
Just 1,000?
Yes.
We have a big task on our hands to making sure we get a lot more people on board. But thank you for that number. Thank you very much.
Lade, probably you allow me to cut it because Engineer Bamisaye may actually not know the number. Of course, we are the ones who graduate the students. I can tell you that EKSU, whether Osua Unite, would have graduated well over 50,000 students. So in other words, we have well over 50,000 alumni. I'm not talking of the active members of the alumni association now.
No, I think
anybody
what we mean,
is an alumni.
I think what might be meant in this context are the registered ones, not just those who went. Like in UK, for example, I know that we're more than 350. But the 350 Lola mentioned are the ones that are registered. So we may have 50,000, but how many of them? So 1,000 actively involved. So we have a target to matching the 50,000 to the 1,000 that we have, 1,350 that we have. And there's a lot of things that we can do in making sure there's a buy-in from all of the various alumni that we have out there who are not voting yet. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Professor J.B. Ayodele, who's on the platform as well. Thank you very much for joining us. We're all very eminent boys. So Professor, thank you very much for joining us. I don't know where you're joining us from. Over to you, Lola, for the next question, please.
Okay. I have this question here. Dr. Fasua mentioned about alumni giving back to the uni. So how can we utilize the skills of these expert alumni that we have?
I'm going to throw that question over to Tope. I know Tope mentioned quite a lot in his speech, but it'd be great to hear from Tope. How can we tap into the expertise of the alumni that we have?
Oh, thank you. I did discuss some of that in so many ways. Even Professor Olomolaiye spoke about getting grants, research grants, and so on. Some of our alumni, a lot of our alumni, must be said, are in the academics, where that university has produced quite a number of professors, and a lot of them are not in Nigeria. The thing about what the VC just spoke about now, 50,000 graduates over time, for example, I think we should maybe target 25,000 of those to bring them on board. We have professors who are teaching in places like Yale. I mean, Lade, there's a guy called Lade, not you. Lade had to be lectures in, well, he was in Yale, he lectures in Michigan now, and so on. He's a full professor now, I think. So we have guys all over the place which can. Now, we can come in at the level of grants, we can come in at the level of course, participating in alumni association and giving back to the university in cash or kind, even books. Physical libraries are still in play, apart from virtual libraries, So, and of course, I mentioned professors of practice, which I want the VC to kindly think about. They call it different names in different places, but when you have maybe PhD holders who may not be in academics, but I, for one, may want to come, I mean, if I have the time to give a lecture in some aspects of maybe economics or development economics, Chancellor Lade may want to talk about maybe public governance, maybe public admin department.
Politics, how we need to get into politics and make
political
change.
science and so on.
Nigerian politics.
Yes, and I think it's going to add a lot. Now, let me say this, because sometimes there's an advantage in coming from where we're coming from. University of Ibadan is well established. University of Lagos, University of Ife, well established. We know we have this peculiar challenge. But if we push with a lot of velocity, we may find out that we will excel in some areas. In fact, what people like Prince Ilangu and co have done, I saw one other alumni from a different university saying that, look, what we are doing in EKSU is perhaps unprecedented compared with, I mean, the recent drive to have a fund, a fund account to keep something back and also to give back to those students, it's unprecedented in Nigeria as far. And so I believe that we can come from a position of disadvantage into advantage. Professors of practice and even just normal lecture, which must be anchored at the level of the VC, because again, I'm aware that departmental heads may not want you to just butt into their programs. But we know where we're coming from. If everything can be well coordinated, I've given a few of those in my time as well. Even in Ondo State University and across the country. In Ife, I've been to Ife several times. I've been to Uniport, Unical, delivery, apart from within Abuja here. So those are the several things that we can do. And every alumni should try, first of all, remember where we're coming from. Our humble beginnings, when we were struggling through that university, everybody struggles. And so don't look down on us. I was speaking to one of
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm just very much aware of the other questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And like you said earlier, you did enumerate, I think, about 10 points in your presentation about how we can give back. Well, I like the fact that you dovetailed and talked about the practice, how we can give back in our skills through speeches, lectures, financially, and also your presence and also advice, just like we're having today. Is the fact that we have the global president with us in United Kingdom, and also Professor Olanipekun, the Vice Chancellor. They're here with us, hearing from us. Dr. Akande will be so delighted when in 2 weeks she gets a transcript. That is the problem solved. Yes, that's the problem solved. So tell me, if we go to her and we say, Doctor, we need this from you, how she's not going to come on board. So it's both ways. We give to the uni and the uni gives back to us. That's just my own little bit as well. We're happy, more than willing to come on board. But when I come and knock on those doors and say, I'm a mental health advocate, for example, and also an expert, an instructor, a consultant, I would like to sit down with the university and write a mental well-being strategy for the university. All of that is about when we knock on the doors, let all the bureaucracies be removed. Let the doors be opened and the ears be ready to hear us when we come to knock on those doors. That's another bit that I'm going to say. Over to you, Lola. Is there any other question? I'm sure there are quite some other ones.
Following on to that is alumni that want to share their skills. Who can they contact? Which is exactly what you've just mentioned.
Yeah.
So the visa is available.
Okay, and I would say the global president is available as well. Engineer Dipo, Bamisaye, Dr. Tope Fasua is available as well. He's the chair of the Eminent Persons Group. So I would ask if you if you could just kindly put your details on the chat box, that'll be very, very helpful, be really helpful, so that members on the platform now can write them down and send emails to you. And please, when you get the emails, please make sure you respond. Don't let them go into your junk box. Thank you so much. Next question, please.
Okay, it's what would the VC do to ensure that the university take advantage of the things that is learning about today? For example, the funding opportunities mentioned by Professor Olomolaiye. What is the Vice Chancellor's strategy to ensure that the university take advantage of this?
That is an apt question that I'm going to be directed to both. I think we should direct first to Professor Olomolaiye, and then Professor Olanipekun will respond, because he's the one that said that in his paper. Professor Olomolaiye, how do we go about tapping into the resources you mentioned in your paper, sir?
Yes, there are just unbelievable. I can be sending the list of grants that are available. I can be sending it to the university regularly. They run into hundreds to thousands of opportunities every week. And we in my university, all our research people, the research active or research intensives, we call them, they get that as a matter of fact, so they know where to chase the money. But one thing is not only in chasing the money, but actually in being able to network and collaborate with other people who have maybe chased that particular money source for. And there are different issues in Africa. I just heard you talk about mental well-being of students in Ekiti University. That could be a significant and attractive, very attractive proposal if we put it into the right place. And that could run into some significant sums of money if we do it properly. Now, so there are these different opportunities, and they are available, and I can send it to you, all right?
Thank you.
Then we need people from the other side who actually know how to write research bits and who are trained. There are opportunities, things that we have done, workshops we have done with University of Ibadan, with ABU, with University of Lagos. Those are workshops which is on research grants and actually how to chase grants all over the world. And those kind of workshops with your research active guys who want to do something. I've learned about your Center for Cybersecurity. Now, are they looking for funds? Are they doing some exciting things in their research areas? Now, these are things we can chase together and we can look for together. And I'll send you those opportunities as you, but it's a real campaign with a very structured office that is on bidding. In my university, we have a whole center for it. It's a business, is an income stream, which we are measuring lecturers, we are measuring professors every week, every month. You can't become a professor if you haven't raised hundreds of thousands of research grants.
Thank you.
It's not a chieftaincy title. It is some significant sums of money you raise. You have to have your own research teams, and then we have, let me stop. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And that was the reason why I posed the question first to you. Can we not share, please? Whoever is tapping with sharing, please don't share. Stop sharing, please. Emmanuel Olugbemi, please do not share. Can you just go off the screen, please? Thank you so much. Can you disable? Okay, I've disabled him. Thank you. So the reason why I posed that question first to you, Professor Olomolaiye, is because you know the in-how. And that's why it's really necessary for us to raise some key questions about the availability of the funding and the need to have the skills on ground. Over to you, Professor Olanipekun. How can we? These are the two poles. One here funding is here, and this is EKSU here. We need to match them together. How do we match them together? Making use of the alumni, making use of the EKSU alumni that are based here, who some of us are professional bid writers, some of us know how to write these grants, and it's about all of that. Over to you, sir.
Well, once again, I want to thank the alumni, worldwide. Let me just say worldwide, not only the UK and the Ireland chapter, and also my brother, my friend, Professor Paul Olomolaiye. One of the things that we intend doing now is to encourage cross-border research collaboration, and we've already started that. I had some fruitful discussion with Professor Olomolaiye on Tuesday or Wednesday when I visited. When I just went in by accident. It was by accident, but I also want to say it was divine. It was divine. So we are working on that. Then also, of course, you must have also been told that we had very, very fruitful, discussions with people because of alumni too. In Aberdeen, yesterday, and incidentally, to also met one of my friends, who is also a professor of mechanical engineering there. In fact, he had sent some funding opportunities to the deputy registrar, who actually are coming to England. So, what we intend to do is that the management of the university and the alumni will needs to more or less to synergize more, so that some of these truthful ideas that have been canvassed here tonight can be well harvested, processed, good enough. We have a directorate of research, development and innovation. So the person there, of course, is going to put on on the front burner, so that within the trickle of a night, some of these things can begin to more or less be reference. And again, to one of the things I also intend to as Vice Chancellor, because I've said it, and Prof knows, Prof Olomolaiye, you cannot be jack of all trades and master of none. You have to be known for residing in some areas where you are brilliant. It's not that you just be doing this with
and it's also about bringing funding in. I think that's one key thing that Professor Olomolaiye said. I know that there are quite a lot of professors in Nigeria at the moment. One of the ways in which they are assessed here, the criteria for professorship here, is about the amount of funding you have attracted into the university. It will be a suggestion, so that this would make professors, or this would make adjunct professors or whatever, very actively working with external organizations to seek for funding, to making sure that their researches, their department are well funded. So we're not overly relying on the state government for funding.
I want to assure you that will be explored, but there are ways by which that will be done. We have to start from somewhere. So I want to assure you that we'll do something. We'll find a way of doing that to encourage, to motivate, our colleagues. We'll find a way around that. Okay,
that's another task for you, Professor Olanipekun. We're giving you so many tasks as you're going back. Another major task. And somebody has suggested.
Don't let him run away, please.
No, he's not going to run away. We're going to have, thank God for Zoom. So even when you're in Ekiti, we're going to be calling for a Zoom meeting, accountability, on the task. Because today I believe in being solution focused. So it's not just talking about the problems, about looking at what is the way forward. And the theme for today, for those who are just joining us, thank you so much for joining us, is we're looking at how a Nigerian university, now we're not just generalizing, we're looking at EKSU, our alma mater. How can EKSU seek excellence in the midst of the present challenges? And we know that our panelists have talked about the various challenges that we have. It is a fact that there's competition, the student growing number, the fact that the infrastructures are not there, the funding is not there. There's an over-reliance on state funding. But then we've had Professor Paul Olomolaiye tell us about the opportunities that we have there. And Dr. Israel Obiri, who is I think he was a past chair of the Eminent Persons Group of EKSU, he's just made a suggestion here, which I totally agree with. He's suggesting that there should be an alumni working group that would work towards translating some of the gains from this program into reality. And I think, this is over to you, the planning committee, and also the caretaker committee, to making sure that there are points being taken down on some action points that are coming up from the meeting today. There must be accountability. If we're talking of increasing the number from 50,000, from 1,350 to at least 50%, let's say 25,000, we must be able to make sure that we meet those things together. Action points being followed up on, updates, corrective actions be put in place. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to ask Lola again to read the next question. Professor Lade has raised his hand. And I'm going to put you on the spot, Professor Lade. A lot of us would know Professor Lade from uni. I had a quick chat with Lola during the week, and I was remembering what we used to call him in university.
Dr.
Dr. He was one of the, when I was, my intention before was that, when we're going to start, we start with the history of where we're coming from. And Professor Wale Olajide was one of the first lecturers we had in the university. He was one of those who Tope described as like a father, a big brother. He was one who looked out for us. And I would never forget Psychology 101 and logic class. But over to you, Professor Wale Olajide. Thank you so much for joining. It's a big honor to have you here. Big honor. And if I may just say, to the youngest 70-year-old on the platform, I think it would be good for us to just celebrate him ahead of time. Professor Lade is going to be 70 in the next few weeks.
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, very clearly.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your kind words and the reminiscences. I'm sure one of these days I will beg the university to let us have a night of an alumni that could participate. That would. One, I'm most delighted. Our present Vice Chancellor, we have a very, very bright vision. And is a man, whatever on this occasion, he will meet. Second is to underscore the fact that the university has the Advancement Directorate of Advancement and Public Unit. Now, this directorate should be used as a link, as a bridge between alumni, wherever they are, with the university. This way, needs of the alumni can be better met and quickly met too. Well, maybe on the part of the university, we have to make that directorate more vibrant, but it must be used by the alumni. So the alumni writing straight to the registrar, you can get your case treated, but who will be your advocate? I like to have Lade as my advocate, for instance, because I know she will not stop talking and driving my case. So let us make use of the Directorate of Advancement and see how best the university can serve alumni. It's clear that without alumni, we're just lame dog. So we need to cultivate your friendship, for you, our Directorate of Advancement and Planning.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Lade. Thank you for mentioning that. I think what you're doing is reiterating what Professor Olanipekun said earlier. We need the alumni. We need the alumni. And thank you for mentioning that. So for those who are on the platform, and I suppose the planning committee for this anniversary will be taking that on board. So if we are, and when we are putting together the alumni working group, it will be best to actually have an advocate in-house, and Professor Lade has just mentioned the Directorate for Advancement that we can liaise with. What's the next question? And then we'll ask Soji Inlawo to ask his question because he has his answer. But before we do, can we take any other question from
Slido? I have this is actually directed to the Vice Chancellor. That as a former ASU chairman, you need to make sure ASU and other trade union, or how can you make sure ASU and other trade union to stop joining the national industry actions, the strike, especially as demands that they are making does not concern the institution as regards we are a state university. So the root, and that's the root cause of inability to pay staff salary, because salaries meant for 11 months are overstretched to offset salaries for 20 months. So
Okay.
what can you do, sir, to make sure this happens?
Well, thank you very much. What we'll be doing and continue to do will be to dialogue, with the star unions. And let me say this without missing words. They'll be quite supportive and they'll be quite reasonable. But sometimes it is actually difficult because, of course, these unions, they are all one. ASU is one. SAGU is one. NAT is one. NASU is one. What you have in the different universities are just chapters. They are branches. So it is quite actually difficult for a university to say, oh, we are not participating in this struggle or whatever. They will be sanctioned by the central, union. But what we intend doing is to actually continue to interface, with the branches. And I want to give this to the global president of the Alumni Worldwide. He has been quite useful, despite that he is a very busy person, he still creates time to actually to mediate, whenever there are misunderstandings, between management and the unions. So what we'll continue to do is we'll continue to more or less to mentor them, and not only them, to also to expose them, to the outside world, for them to come and see what obtains, in other climes like the United Kingdom and other places, so that according to some of them, what they are not saying, intellectual unionism, they can actually put intellectual unionism, into practice. I, as Vice Chancellor, I have it on mind to actually to sponsor them outside the country, because because of them have not traveled, beyond Ekiti or Nigeria before. It's not that I'm denigrating them, of course, because they don't have any reasons for doing that. So if they come, for instance, a place like United Kingdom and they interface with people, they see how things are going on, then that of course will change their orientation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Olanipekun. One very key thing. Yes, I think it's okay to clap for him. Thank you for clapping for him, Engineer Bamisaye. Very apt. It's about. I often say this. It almost sounds like a cliche, but it's the truth. You cannot give what you don't have. And exposure is key, absolutely key. When you see the process, the procedure, the structure that you have in other places, I would refer you back to another Yoruba proverb. I don't think it's a Yoruba proverb, actually. It's universal. Your father's farm will look like the biggest until you go to the next man's farm. And that's the truth, and that's the issue, exposure. So thank you very much for putting that as one of your priorities, to making sure that your academic staff, that they're exposed, that you're not sitting on them and being the only one who is going out, but that you're allowing them to have opportunities where they can present papers internationally, nationally, challenging them. And like Professor Olomolaiye said, one of the key things that should be to becoming a professorship is how much fund you have attracted. I think we need to put that element in. You find out that our academic staff will be very, very active, where the over-reliance we have at the moment on the state government for funding will be really reduced. When you know that you can fund your research, you can fund all the things that you need for your lab, for example, as a lecturer, because you've received external funding, and you know you need to make reports to them. There's accountability that is not just within the university, but also external. Thank you so much for that. What's the next question? No, I said I was going to call Princess Soji and Ilawo to speak earlier. So over to you, Soji.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Councillor Lade Olugbemi. I think I just wanted to highlight this. One of the very important key takeaways of the visit of the Vice Chancellor and the alumni president and myself and the chairman of planning committee to Aberdeen yesterday was a reinforcement of the fact that the alumni of any university, and alumni is not an exception, they are very, very, we've said it here, we're very, very critical if we're very much desirous about our university growing to the standards of the university we've seen all over the world. We need to ensure, all of us, and it's a collective ownership, we need to ensure that we now more than ever before rally everybody for the benefit of that university. That is started to happen, but we'll need to put more vigor collectively into it. That's number one. I just wanted to put that across. I think there's an urgency to put that across in the public space. The second thing, and which is Professor Olomolaiye has mentioned, one of the funding, and we all realize that funding is very critical. It's very critical for our university, and it's not peculiar to EKSU, but it's very, very critical. I think one of the important things from this session, and I want to challenge Professor Olomolaiye, and then perhaps maybe we can mention it. We need to have a list of points, a list of ways, if you like, of how we want to address the funding challenges of EKSU. We know that the university gets funding from the state government, but we need to gradually, very, very urgently, begin to start to move away from that. And that's, Professor Olomolaiye has mentioned one bit, overseas funding, but we need to have a list of funding options, and we need to then start to work. Alumni and university begin to work on how to deploy these options. That's just what I wanted to. I think all of us here, we need to live here, having those options and then working on them, either the alumni collaboratively with the university.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prince Soji Lao, for those points, reiterating what has been said already, totally in agreement with you. And just going back with what Professor Olanipekun said, and like I said, I wrote it in capital letter, bold. We need the alumni. So the conversations we're having now is how do we fuse, how do we strategize, how do we put a process in place, and how do we get the buy-in whereby the 50,000, we're bringing them in to meeting the 1,350, which is really, really important. Thank you very much for that. I'm really conscious of time. I'm an extremely time conscious person. For those who know me, we've been on from 5 p.m. and it's 16 minutes past the time we should be finishing. And I'd just like to crave the indulgence of everyone here. Can we just extend by 10 more minutes so that we just round up nicely? Is that okay? Just 10 more minutes, so we'll finish. Fantastic. So we'll finish at 19:27. So is there any last question that is there, Lola? Is there any other question? And then we'll go over to our speakers, our panelists, to just give a last 1 minute word.
We've got some questions on the chat that I think we should actually look at. For example, Professor Olomolaiye is asking, and I think Dr. Fasua will be able to answer this question. Can contribution to university endowment be tax deductible in Nigeria?
That's a great one. Would that be? No, I don't think that's Professor Olomolaiye to answer. I think it'll be Tope.
No, I said Dr. Fasua.
Dr. Fasua, yes, ahead, Dr. Fasua. Okay.
Unmute me. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. So, well, from my perspective as an accountant, as a chartered accountant, I believe it should be because it's contribution to an NGO for a humanitarian sort of service. So
the university is not an NGO. Is the university an NGO? Well, it is a governmental organization.
It's because it's in the educational sector. It's treated as such.
Okay.
So donations to a school, especially a government-owned school, should be tax deductible, and that helps to, especially those who run companies. They can put a few things on their company, and then that gets backed out when you're doing your taxes. Yeah, so they should be able to encourage our people to donate more to the university. I believe
that's fantastic. Thank you very much for that. There's another question here that somebody sent to me privately. I'm just reading it. My apologies. The question says, one of the great ideas of bringing excellence to universities, leveraging on the niche of a uni is that it can offer, as stated in Dr. Fasua's slide. I did ask if the uni can produce a brochure for their research and development, and the alumni can quantify it to make it a world brand and directly raise funds for the uni. So for some of us, we look forward to guiding this aspect, which is fantastic. I think that'll be a question that can that Professor Olanipekun. Actually, let Engineer Bamisaye respond to that. Engineer Bamisaye, did you get the question, or can I say the question again?
No, I didn't get it clearly.
Okay, let me read it out again. I've just gone over it. Bear with me one moment. It's all the way up. One of the great ideas of bringing excellence to university. Okay, this person is saying excellence is about leveraging on the niche that the university has. So it's asking if the university can produce a brochure for the research and development that they are doing, so that the alumni can take that up and actually directly raise funds for them. So I'll give you an example. I understand what this person is asking. So I previously worked in an organization or an authority where we were moving offices, and all of the furniture there, they were going to dispose them of. So they sent an email to staff and said whoever wanted anything, including the computers they had. If, for example, I knew what the development and research needs of the university was, I can easily go to that organization, to the authorities. I did get for some NGOs, for some charities. I wrote on behalf of those charities, and they got substantial, fantastic furniture. So what this person is saying is that, can we have a brochure where we can use to raise funds? So for example, if we know that the Department for Geology, for example, they need some equipment.
Yes, I got it. I got the question clearly. Already we have a compendium of that. We have it, and tomorrow I came to the UK with some copies. Tomorrow I'll drop some copies at the gala and dinner.
Fantastic.
The alumni has been in a good relationship with the VC, looking at the VC passion for lifting the university. And so we have a document, a compendium, needs compendium. We call it needs compendium of the university. So I came to the UK with some copies.
Fantastic.
So we are
That's great. So we have that.
And we have that. And one of the things we are doing is, when we say alumni, you are referring to you and I collectively. And so this is one of the reason for this lecture, for the dinner and for the gala, brainstorming together, networking together, bringing out our best brands for the development of our alma mater. Thank you, Chancellor.
Thank you very much. Very well answered. I don't think Professor Olanipekun has anything else to add. I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, is there any more questions?
Let me say this.
You want to add to it?
Yes, I want to actually confirm what Engineer Bamisaye, had just said. But I'm also aware that even outside of that, and I think Professor Paul Olomolaiye can also even assist us, in that regards, because many of us, even though I wouldn't want to embarrass Prof, because
please don't embarrass him. Please don't embarrass him.
I wouldn't want to do that, because if you want to know him better, you either Google him or you go to UW, here at Bristol. Then that's why I just met him by accident. It wasn't on the agenda to see. So, and I'm privileged, but to adjust. I think one of it is that can also be done, and I think also our alumni here, in the UK and Ireland, how to leverage on that. I am aware that over time, some laboratories here have been changing some of their equipment. So some of our alumni can leverage on that. Okay. All we just need to do is
we've taken that on board. We've taken that on board. So we look forward to picking that brochure up tomorrow from Engineer Bamisaye. Thank you very much for that. On that note, I think we need to round up, because I did ask for 10 minutes and 10 minutes only. So I'm going to go round the table and ask for just 1 minute, and I'll be timing. I'm very strict with timing, as you must have noticed. I'll be timing 1 minute each from everyone. And of course, I'm going to start from Dr. Tope Fasua, what is the last word you have to say to us tonight?
Well, I probably want to just thank everyone for coming and for their contributions this evening so far. And, you know, I also would like to say that from my bench as the chairman of the EPG, what they call eminent people's personalities group of the alumni, I expect to hear from me, because one of the legacies I would try to, by God's grace, try to bequeath in my tenure is to try and really expand the, in conjunction with the president, of course, expand the number of people, alumni, that signs up to alumni activities. And also, we would also try to coordinate the donations and the projects that we get involved in, because I believe there's, if it was money for specific projects, there's no amount that we shouldn't be able to raise amongst us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fasua. Thank you for being right on time. Over to you, Engineer Bamisaye.
Oh, I just want to appreciate Professor Paul Olomolaiye for the apt dissection of the topic, how Nigerian University can seek excellence in the midst of the present challenges. You dissected it aptly, sir. I want to appreciate you because we have solutions. I want to also appreciate Dr. Tope Fasua with the presentation.
You are giving a vote of thanks that we should be giving. You're giving a vote of thanks that we should be giving. Your last word, please.
Okay,
not a vote of thanks. Yes.
My last word is to appreciate the host. That's the last word. Thank you.
Thank you so much for keeping the time. Don't worry, we're going to give a vote of thanks and thank everybody. Yes. Thank you so much for that. Professor Olomolaiye, our keynote speaker. You've been on this seat for 2 hours now. We're here very early on. Thank you so much. Your 1 minute, sir.
I just want to say thanks to Lola for getting me this opportunity or for inviting me here. And I want to just say that to have a passionate alumni association like this is not every university desires to have it. To have you guys so passionate about your university is just music to my ears. And I just want to say thanks to the Alumni Association for your passion, and your Vice Chancellor is very lucky to have you actually putting that pressure on. And I just want to say thanks to that. I want to say that there are other ways of making money. In the UK here, we don't have enough funds, and we go to Malaysia, to Asia, to every part in the world. In Nigeria, we go to Nigeria, and so many Nigerians are in my university, maybe more than 1,000, and in several other universities. Why? We don't sit down here looking for the government to give us all that we need. No government in the world can afford tertiary education free or at the rate which Nigerians are expecting. And it is better the government comes out one day and be truthful about it.
You will have to set up another seminar, sir.
Let me stop there, okay? It got me to trouble when I gave the Lagos University, University of Unilag economics lecture. It got me into trouble.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. We're going to have to set up another seminar where we were in collaboration with Professor Olanipekun, where we'll bring all the academics together and possibly have you talk to them, teach them, talk to us, open our eyes to the opportunities that are out there. So it's not just Professor Olanipekun talking about it, but it's the fact that they're hearing you and possibly some of your other colleagues as well, who will be able to thank God for Zoom. Thank God we have Professor Ayodele joining us all the way from Ekiti. He graduated from Ondo State University. He's here now, and he's been here since we started. Is the fact that we can tap in on the technology to actually enhance the skills of those on ground. A fantastic point you've made there. Thank you so much. And last but not the least, the very young, agile, ebullient. When I call you young, it's okay to say young. People see me and they say I'm young, and I always grab it. I don't argue, so that's fine. The very young, ebullient, agile Professor Edward Olanipekun, who is supporting the EKSU alumni worldwide. We really appreciate you. Your 1 minute, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me just say that all the suggestions made, in the course of this discourse, I've tried to actually, to take note of, all the suggestions, and of course, that is the essence of my being here. And I want to assure the alumni that we're going to more or less to kickstart, the process of actually getting some of these suggestions, without much ado. And let me also assure Professor Olomolaiye, we're going to having, in our university very soon to come and at least give us a talk. And no, it shouldn't exercise any fear. Nobody is going to harass him, because one of the hallmarks of intellectualism is to be able to speak the truth and speak the truth at all times, no matter whose source is God. So then, for what the alumni will want to hear, we the issue of transcript, I'm giving my words.
Thank you.
That by the grace of God, within the next 3 months, we'll be able to more or less to put this behind us. But if there are some isolated cases that need urgency, I want to please tomorrow. Let me have them so that we can get them talk. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Olanipekun. We really, really appreciate our panelists. You spent your time, your energy, your money. And when we talk about money, money is not just quantified in finances. Money is quantified in your time as well. We really, really appreciate you. And I'm just going to give a minute to the chair of this planning committee, Lola Olajide, who has, alongside her team, she's going to mention their names now, because I think it'd be great to just acknowledge them, who has, alongside her team, done a lot of work. DJ Abbas, a lot of work. DJ Abbas, another brand that we have out there who is shining for us, a lot of work. Over to you, Lola. Your 1 minute, I'll be timing you too.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Lade. I would like to say on behalf of the planning committee, and I mentioned their name, of course, our very own DJ Abbas, Miss Wonu Adeladun, Mr. Olajide Akinyemi, Mr. Tayo Ojo, Mr. Kayode Jimo, Mr. Ken Olubusi, Mr. Olumide, Olumide, his surname just slipped now because I'm so used to calling everyone by their first name. And Miss Fola Fadikpet, they've worked really hard putting all this together, and I say thank you. I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to work with. They've made the work so easy. I would like to say thank you to all our panelists that they were able to, honor our invitation. We were looking forward to their valuable insights, and they've proved us right. We've learned so much, and I'm sure our VC is ready to take our university to the next level. Not only has he been able to learn so many things to take the university forward, he's also giving us his word of solving the problem that most of our alumni complain about.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chair of the Planning Committee. We really appreciate you on that note. We'd like to say thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Today is not the final day. We have tomorrow. Tomorrow is the icing on the cake, the gala night, where there'll be a lot of networking, a lot of chit chat, a lot of talking, and of course we have our DJ Abbas on the stand. There's
Okay, ẹ̀yin tèmi Ekiti State University ẹ péré wọlé o this Sunday London Ekiti State University ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ mílíkì ṣé yẹ yín ká lọ mílíkì.
Ó yá ẹ mílíkì takọtabo ẹ ṣá máa mílíkì takọtabo. Ó yá ẹ kó mọ́lẹ̀ o takọtabo ẹ ṣá máa.
Raffle draw. There'll be laughters as well.